Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I am one of your hosts, the Uruk Taylor Field, and I'm joined by.
I was there. Compatzer.
I'm the Love Me Later, Dylan Muss.
I'm the Clown Prince of Hallucinations, Travis Snell.
Taylor,
Yes.
was that a Travis impression?
I think
or
that
what?
was.
No. That's
Yeah,
definitely
definitely
not a Travis.
was.
I've never heard you
Ladies
speak
and
like that
gentlemen,
before.
yeah, apparently I sound like
No.
an 80s
What's
game show. You did the ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
geeks out there?
Hi,
People
ladies and gentlemen.
Go
Oh, yeah.
back to it, you know.
No, if I was doing like the Travis, I'd be like the hello.
That's fair. I like adding the
pretty
O's
close.
on there, you know.
Lots of O's. But you know what has one O? Rings of Power, which is what we're going to be. Oh, it's two O's. Fuck.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
That pesky of.
Oh, we're going to be talking about it. Episode 6 tonight, my friends. But before we get into that, a couple of plugs. You can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. But more importantly, I need to just shout out these legendary folks.
Yeah.
Patreon producers. We got Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Muds, Sam, Superbad Mike, The God Loves Me 69, and Jeremy Reiner.
Shout out Jeremy.
Yes.
Renner,
Shout outs to Jeremy.
Survived,
Reiner.
and the first thing he did is like, I got to become a patron on the Geekverse, you know.
That's
so.
right. That's right. So you want to support us on the Patreon because you get that Patreon producer tier, then you get some delicious content, ad-free stuff, extra episodes, and you get to have a lot more interaction with us. You can send questions in for our episodes, reviews, news topics, and all that kind of stuff. And you also get to pick a project, a film for us to discuss and watch. So that's Travis.
Well, and one thing, just say there were a couple benefits you threw out that are for multiple tiers as well. Just to clarify.
Nope.
It's not okay. I didn't know that change. I was gone for 1 week, and everything is
change.
just on the producer tier.
Yeah, no, multiple tiers, lots of different stuff. So definitely go check it out. Check out the site, and you can see everything listed in the different tiers. It's a good little place to be. And also check us out on our Discord. Links are below. Discord is a great group of people talking with all of us and many different chats. Travis, we're going to be talking about it later tonight, but you created a Batman or a Penguin chat too.
I
which is-
revived the Batman chat.
You
and turned into
revived
the
it.
Yeah, the Penguin one.
Brought it
So,
back
yeah, we got
from the
lots.
dead.
Yeah, we got lots of chats. We got the Agatha chat. We got the Rings of Power. We got that. We got football, Marvel Snap, Pokemon. Is Pokemon even alive still in the
Barely.
Discord?
I might have moved it to the archived section of the. If no
Okay.
one's said anything in 6 months, it's out of there. It
Yeah,
still
it's worth a
exists, but you just have to click down below.
That's good policy.
It's down in the shadow
Yeah.
realm.
So, yeah, as I said earlier, Rings of Power episode 6. Who wants to steer us into the non-spoilers to start with their first impressions?
Well, I feel like Travis was gone last week, so we got to hear his thoughts on last week's episode as well. So that's
I
actually
actually
a good
just
place.
sat in the room and just listened. I wasn't gone, but no. So I watched them both today. So I might be like a little fuzzy to be like, okay, if there's some mixture. But I think I got a clear point of majority of stuff that happened last week. So luckily, I think, and I can say even with this episode, I feel like with each episode, I am liking it more and more. I don't think I was in Taylor and Dylan's camp where you guys absolutely loved it. I was surprised because Taylor kind of made it sound like sarcastically you guys loved it. So I didn't know what I thought going into the review. Yeah,
I don't know where that came
That's
from.
that's another newscast. Just the way you
He's
put
not
it.
a Pablo. He doesn't get it, guys.
He said something like, "Oh yeah, we loved it, LOL," and I was like, "Well, who says
Just
like?"
being honest.
Yeah, but why would you
Did he
add
say
LOL?
LOL?
I'll find it another time. I'll find it later on. But anyway, so I enjoyed
I
the
can't
episode.
imagine him saying we loved it LOL.
I'll find
Not
it.
in real life.
I'll find it.
Yeah, something's
So
wrong with
I
that.
had some issues. I still in both stuff. I hate that Taylor made the thumbnail. I'm still don't really care about anything happening in Numenor. I just like, especially even this episode. I just feel like, what are we really even doing with? I hate some of the mythological things that are happening with eagles or sea beasts, like just stuff where it's like, okay, what like. Sometimes again, do these people have any urgency? So that's something. The dwarf stuff you guys talked about, yeah, I agree. That's all great. I think we've always enjoyed like the Prince Durin and King Durin, but it's getting really good. And this week, like, nice little turn between something I thought the king was going to do and it didn't happen, and we're getting some good illusions there. Sauron and Celebrimborn is still like a 60-40 for me for enjoying it, because I felt it was I needed more explanation of these rings are really bad, or we made some errors, they could be really bad, how do we fix it, let's make more rings. It's just kind of like if you were to have a gambling debt and like, man, we've lost everything, what should we do now? Well, let's use our savings and gamble with that. I don't think they made it clear enough. I do agree with because I just listened to the review a couple hours ago with Dylan. What I agree with the Sauron stuff. I like that they're making it more avert that he is using illusions, hallucinations, or tricks. Where the first few episodes, I think they were trying to go for that, like, oh, is he a smooth talker? Is he using magic? But I don't think they executed it well at all. So I thought just do the whole, like, clearly they're doing now. We'll talk about it in the spoilers. Some character completely gets mind effed and thinks a whole one thing, and like the reality is completely different. So I love that. So yeah, Kel Brimborn, he's still like, I don't know. I wish that character had a lot better writing around him. I still think he kind of feels goofy. I think they added some shades to him last week, which I like, but it's still some stuff doesn't make sense. I like the guy doing Sauron. And then my last note for both these episodes, because this episode, I don't know if I'd say it's the best one. I feel like 4, 5, and 6, they're all kind of similar range for me. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying the first 3 more. I like what we'll talk about with Tom. My biggest complaint though still is almost like with House of Dragon. I got better near the end, but we only have 2 episodes left. I feel like Galadriel's barely been in this thing for someone that was the main character of the first season. To like this episode, she had a few scenes where she was tied to a chair, like not a big spoiler, like whatever, but that's all she does. Has a few conversations. Last week she was in a scene. The week before she had a cool fight scene, but that was about it. It was just her and Elrond looking mean at each other. It just feels like she was busy filming a movie or something and they couldn't have her. If that's the case, then I get it. And luckily they have said we're doing the 5 seasons, so I hope in the follow-up season she'll take that urgency again. But every week I just feel kind of disappointed that Galadriel's just kind of there. You know, she just feels like she's making moves, but I just feel like as the person that got us into this world for this Rings of Power, a little disappointed there. So still liking it, but I'm not like in love with it like I was last year. But I'm like fingers crossed that 7 and 8 are going to be really good. I think next week we're getting a big episode, which we'll talk about. And then with 8, I hope they just stick the landing and make me really excited for season 3 because they did that last 2 years ago, whatever. So that's where I am on episode 5 and 6.
Nice.
Anyone?
It's a dare. You could just
Well,
throw it on
Kirkland's
someone's
trying
head.
to
You can
talk, but
force
he
it.
doesn't realize he's muted. I think
Forgot how to
is,
speak for a second there. I was just like, for all my muscles, I couldn't do it.
I'm a little Gandalf.
Yeah, I feel like for myself, I was actually quite positive on this episode. I don't know, when we get into certain plots, I just really don't care about the Harfoots or the Stoors. Honestly, even like the Gandalf stuff, like I guess we're calling him the stranger right now. But for the Gandalf stuff, even that, I feel like I'm more warm on this week in comparison to where I was in the past, and I mean that in a positive way.
It's Tom.
But
The Tom effect's getting.
maybe I'm warming up a little bit more to Tom, but my interest is definitely more around kind of what's going on with the dwarves and Eregion, and I see where you're coming from, Travis, with the Numenor stuff. I think I actually quite liked what was going on in this week's episode, but for the most part, I don't think it's been as peak as it could have been, like just throughout the whole season. Because yeah, with 2 episodes left, I think I'm going to be looking back on it and just not really, maybe feeling underwhelmed on the Numenor of this season compared to like last season, because it was just so new and shiny and I'd never seen it before. I was just like totally eating it up, and it was just like totally that just like the novelty was just like, oh my god, this is so crazy how nice Numenor looks. And now that we're spending more time on it, I don't know. I think it could have been handled a lot better.
Could be a hype thing too, right?
Yeah,
the movies allude to it, the books talk about a lot. So you build this image of your head, and then when we get some of those townspeople, my opinion brings it down. It's like, oh, all right, you know.
Yeah, I think it could just be feeling a lot more like Game of Thronesy, because that's kind of what is going on. Like it is like a war for the throne right now in Numenor, and you know, like some of those peak Game of Thrones seasons is around that type of drama, and I definitely think they have the material to get there, but obviously just, I don't know, with the writing, it hasn't quite gone that route. But yeah, for the most part, like Sauron and stuff too, like I'm definitely really enjoying all that stuff that was shown. Visuals remain to just be so stellar in the show. Holy fuck. There's one sequence when, yeah, like mind-trippy moments going on. It looks so good. Oh, I love the look of this show. So yeah, overall I'm definitely more positive on it, but I am curious how we're going to be wrapping up just the season overall. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I'll jump in here. This episode was definitely a big pivot from the last two in particular, where these last two episodes we really were spending a lot of focused time with like 3 groups per episode, and they were different groups, and that's why I wasn't as much a fan of episode 4, is because the groups that we were with I was like not into it at all. And then episode 5, it was groups I was interested in, and then the content was pretty good as well. This one was way more of a scatter shot. It felt like kind of maybe some of those earlier episodes in the season, where I think we saw scenes from like 7 different character storylines in this. And so because of that, pretty much all of those you're spending like pretty much 2 scenes with them, and then the stuff in Eregion we're spending a lot more time with. And it just didn't really work for me. Like, I feel like we made so little progress with all of these different camps, and then the Eregion stuff. It's too bad, because I loved it last episode, and then this episode it turned again for me. Where I don't know if it's a writing thing, like you mentioned, Travis, or honestly for me it's like maybe acting a little bit. Like Celebrimbor here, I was not a fan of some of the reactions and faces he was making. You know, part of that is going to be coming down to the writing. And I was just looking on Wikipedia, like every episode has a new writer, and then the last 2 have like the same writer plus someone from a previous episode, so it's a little more cohesive. But yeah, like every episode is somewhat like a different flavor, I guess. And this episode was not particularly my flavor. So there was not really much that I enjoyed about this episode. I don't think anything was particularly awful, but I think just what I said earlier of so little progress felt like it was made here, that I think I was getting used to like, okay, we're spending a lot of time in these last 2 episodes like on certain storylines and making a lot of progress there. And so there's a lot more to break down, where I don't know, for some of these storylines, like I don't even know what I have to say about the Harfoots. Like I feel like I have nothing to add here, because there wasn't really much to break down or have an opinion on. I definitely have some questions here with Sauron in particular, so I'm excited to talk to you guys about that, do some theory crafting there. But that was maybe the only kind of intrigue of the episode for me, and even that stuff was middling, perhaps.
Yeah, this episode following last week's is a little bit simmered for me. Last week was definitely really, really hype, but getting into this one, there's some stories that I really, really do love and I'm really, really engaged with, but then you have, the Harfoots and the Stores that I'm just not engaged with at all. There's certain dynamics between characters that are unfolding with them, and it's like I don't care about this that much. I'm sure someone does. I'm sure someone is like, yeah, this is fucking great, but it's not for me. It's not my kind of Middle Earth that I want to be watching. So there's that. But at the end of the day, I think that we're still in this. I'm still enjoying what we've got so far. We're still in this.
We're still in this.
The Celebrimbor stuff, I am actually really, really liking it, and it quite satisfying actually with how they tackled some things in this episode. For me, everything that is Durin related is just top tier. That's the bee's frickin' knees. I am all about that right now. So that was a good arc, and they touched upon a few little things here, and you can tell that we're kind of getting to near the end of this season already. At this point, we got like 2 more episodes, and so already we're getting into some climactic things here, and I feel like next week is going to be a pretty hefty one, but I feel like next week they're going to probably focus on a lot of what the setup was from this episode, and then the finale is probably going to just maybe cap it off or tie it all together, like all the other loose ends, the other stories that they were doing in this episode. Because like you said, Dylan, there's a lot of different, they touch upon everything in this episode, really, with everyone's different arc, so it's a lot of ground
except for
to
like
cover.
a seal door, and I guess Elrond doesn't make an appearance, but like that's
The elf
that's
and his
true.
boy, that one too.
the who was
The
He
elf
was
and his adopted boy.
the boy wasn't in here, but
Arondir was in here for
he was
30
he
seconds.
just killed some.
I guess he was, but I just mean like anything substantial. Like we learn nothing. Like it's just like
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's running through the woods and like who cares if it's a spoiler? He's running through the woods killing orcs. It's like all
Not
right,
even
that's
it's not a spoiler. The orcs are like, I'm not gonna fight. We got pacifist orcs now.
don't get me
for-
started on the
for
orcs.
a sentence, and then they attacked when they
Yeah.
saw an
Yeah.
elf. But, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you guys have for non-spoilers?
No, I just think that like we talk about this in spoilers, but in an overall, I just hope for next season either they condense some of these storylines together. Like we talk about Aronde, like get him with, we've talked about this before, other characters that are in the show so that you just do it all together, or start killing some people off, because we have too many people that I think they're
Who you
just
killing off? Stranger?
Aronda and the adopted boy for sure. Like they can go. They die in a great battle. You know,
Together.
Child
they
killer.
get yeah, they get to meet their mom and like semi girlfriend in the afterlife. Great, do that.
Yeah, like a lot more of these
Numenor.
storylines where it's almost like following Lord of the Rings a little bit, where like the first movie we have the Fellowship, everyone's together, and then in Two Towers everyone splits off, and so we're spending time elsewhere. But even Two Towers has way less storylines than this show does, so
and it's three
you're
groups of
dividing that
people,
time
right?
even more. Yeah.
It's like Aragorn and his boys, Merry and Pippin the ants, and then Frodo and Sam and Gollum. It's three succinct stories going on. This is like so many mini stories. I'd probably get rid of the Harfoot, the Hobbits, the Halflings too. I'm hoping that's happening based when we get into spoilers. There's like a line dropped by Tom. I'm like, okay, this should be the way. But I just worry they're like, well, it's the Lord of the Rings show and we need to have halflings in there. It's like, no, you don't. Like that was good to have them in their first season. Hopefully they got Gandalf to where he needs to go and say goodbye and bring him back in like season 4 or 5 when it's like, oh, it means something. And I don't know. So I would start with Ronde, the adopted boy, even Isildur, but they're not going to get rid of him because he's like Memba Berry's stuff, and then get rid of the halflings. Those
We're
are the
gonna
two
learn
additions.
how the Harfoots just get fucking extinct.
100%, yeah.
They're just gonna kill off all those characters.
And I've said this from the beginning too. Get rid of Adar out of there as well too. I don't need him. there
Anal,
anymore.
yeah, he's going. He's gonna.
I
kick
think
the
he's
bucket.
going. I think if he's not
Yeah.
dead by the end of the season, fail season.
Uruk.
Yeah. He sounded like he was like who was that alien, Taylor, in the second? I'll wait till we get to spoilers. Never mind. I don't want to say anything.
In the second.
I'll get
That's
there.
a fucking cliffhanger right there.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Well, if you are on Patreon, you don't have to worry about this ad break. Otherwise, we'll be right back. And we're back. So tell me about this alien, Travis.
So at one point when which I don't mind the scene, Adar and Galadriel, they're talking, right? And she's like,
Getting
well, we
hot
should
and heavy.
Yeah, no, thank God, no. We're like
He does touch her wrist at one point.
she does.
Yeah, that was
Similar.
asking a lot.
They're talking about the enemy of my enemy is a friend, right, and everything. And they're like, well, I could go back and tell them that you want to help, and we can defeat Sauron together. And when he goes, but what about the Uruk? He sounded like, oh, it was fucking God, who was our boy from Acolyte that they did all that stuff with this year? The
Chimera?
the squid head, penis head guy.
Plagueis.
Caddy Mundy.
Caddy Mundy in Attack of Clones or whatever. He's like, well, what about the attack on the Wookiees or whatever he says? What's that line about the Wookiees, Taylor?
You had it.
Okay, that's what Adar sounded like when he's like, but what about the Uruk? Well, I don't know, man. Who fucking? I know you care. Again, I just wish.
Of course he cares. What do you mean?
I know. I mean, like, as the viewer,
She just
Those are
laughs in his
children.
face.
yeah, I
You
know.
think I care?
I think it's back to it's the humanize them. I just wish this conversation wasn't going on, and I wish this wasn't a thing. I don't mind it as far as it makes sense that they should work together, but I just wish he wasn't so like kind of bitchy about it. Kind of like, yeah, we'll work together, and then you guys are next. Not like, but what's gonna happen to us? Like, I don't need that from the of partial villain going on. So I don't know. Again, I'm just overall super disappointed with the Galadriel stuff. I feel like she's taking a massive back seat, and great that Sauron still has a heart on for her. And he's like, you look like Lady Galadriel last week. That was quite a little moment there. But yeah, so
Well-
Adar, hopefully he's going next week. I'm hoping that's the end of him.
Two things on that. I think it's interesting, the idea of like what happens if the elf army were to show up. We know they're not, but they strolled up and Galadriel's like, I got my own army of Yurks, we're gonna team up. I think the elves would be like, this is fucking weird for you to do, Galadriel, just peculiar. But on the side note, Travis, I wanted to know, how do you feel about just this she elf that has kind of not really much self-esteem? Like, you just say she looks like Galadriel, and she's just like ripping her clothes off at this point.
Well, she's not ripped her clothes off, so I'm not going to go that far. I'm 50-50 on it. I like Sauron being mischievous and sneaky, but at the same time, it just feels so like high school drama of like, oh, I look like the beautiful elf. Like, it's like, I think I need more backstory on this side elf for me to really believe what's going on here. But again, I think they allude to him more just using his magic, because last week he like touched her hand and she like had, or maybe that was this week. I can't remember if it was this week or last week. He touched her arm, and she was saying something, and they're talking about Celebrimbor, and it looked like she was on a path to kind of telling Sauron like he's not right, but then he grabbed her hand and it moved. So that's why for me it's like, okay, I'm fine with it, just kind of attributing like him saying Galadriel is almost like a spell word in a way. So, but yeah, I hope that doesn't go anywhere. I hope like next season she's not like his Harley Quinn and she's like, oh, this is my love, because I know they're gonna meet up, him and Galadriel, soon, and I don't want to be like, oh, I have this lady now. I don't know. It could be a dangerous road, but hopefully I imagine she's just gonna die next week, and then it won't matter.
Possible. Sticking on some of the Adar stuff for a little bit. I mean, yeah, in general, I feel like Galadriel's like the biggest drop off from season 1, just in terms of screen time, but also her presence and just how like cool and interesting and exciting it was to watch her story. I just feel like a lot of it is very subdued here, but also she got tricked by Adar, which I don't think in theory is a bad thing. And like honestly, that's the kind of thing I want to see from Sauron. So it's interesting that we're getting Adar here, like kind of really just doing a great job of over time getting this information out of her, confirming that Halbrand is Sauron for his own means, and then also getting the location of the ring. So that was really good. I liked that part of it. I think it maybe took a little bit too long to like get to that point, but it's also at the expense of like, okay, well, I guess Galadriel just kind of appears like a bit of an idiot now. So I'm curious how she's going to maybe redeem herself. Hopefully she has something nice here at the end of the season. Maybe she can break out of the confinement here and then go on like a spree or warn some people, but it already kind of seems like it's too late for that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Throw in the like the whatever it is, the wood fire.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that like that seemed like really good villain stuff. Honestly, Adar, in terms of convincing her of that, and then just discarding her when she maybe actually still has good info and wanted to work with him, but nope, he's a bad guy. He still doesn't trust her and just has his plan that he's set on going for. And so I'm curious to see how this trap element, if Galadriel is right about that, how much of Sauron really is him planning that all along, and how he's gonna like swindle these orcs to work for him and get rid of Adar. I don't know. Once again, he could do it with a spell, perhaps, if they're weak-minded. But as we've seen, like these orcs, is it supposed to be kind of like how Harfoots are like hobbits, but not quite? Is it that these orcs, like over time, by like Saruman and stuff, are like evolving them to just be more of just cannon fodder, essentially, like taking out morality and these other traits of them? Is that part of it, or just like this show has more time with them and wants to flesh them out in this way? I don't know if I'm really unsure.
I think it's mostly just the show trying to flesh them out, but I think you could still make the argument that because you have the character of Adar, that's like their like uplifting, like leader, and then I think that Sauron, like Halbrand, whatever the hell he is, Anatar, Sauron is gonna just fucking kill Adar, and then from that point, like it's just like I have the crown now. Orcs, follow me. Like they're already scared of Sauron. They have Adar that's gonna be the one that saves them from him, and then if he just like murders their father Adar right in front of all of them, it's like, oh my god, like we have no other option. The elves are gonna genocide us. Maybe he'll do some like smooth silky words and like say that like he'll protect them, kind of like how Adar is doing right now, but I really hope
tried that though, right? And
I don't even want that though. Like I would so much rather him just be like, no, like rule with an iron fist, because that's pretty much how he would be ruling. I know I'm not supposed to be saying it's the same continuity of like the Lord of the Rings, but I'm just kind of placating like that type of idea would be the end goal of it. So I think that would be it, and then it's just like, man, the orcs are just forever. They can never just be happy. they can never just have their children and
can't we stay home?
Raise them in peace times. I think it's just like a doomed race, and I want them to go that route because it sucks for them, but I think it's just fitting more so to the orcs that I know of. So that's kind of how I'm hoping it to go, and also how I think it will go, but mostly hope.
Yeah, but like you said, if he's gonna try to talk to him, remember the season started with that flashback of the orcs killing him while he's doing his big speech, right? So it's not like that really worked. We didn't get the full context of why
they do
weren't.
It again.
Yeah, and he ends up in the water again and everything. But like they never gave us the full context of why they didn't maybe exactly trust him. But yeah, I hope it's just kind of like, okay, we tried it this way, but I'm back. Get in line or you die. I don't care. Like you just do and then they turn into grunts. And the ones that do, I actually would like if they've gone this route, to stick with it now and have some orcs push back, but then Sauron also murder those orcs in front of everybody and just make examples out of all of them. Like, hey, I don't care that your wife's pregnant somewhere. Like, we're going to go kill all these people. Like,
No
all
more
right.
baby orcs.
Yeah, no more fucking.
Sterilizes the whole fucking race.
I let you have sex. No more. Not this
Now
time.
we're
It's
getting
like
birthed in the mud pit.
yeah. It's like in sports when some coaches like don't let their players like get off before a game. That's gonna be Sauron. But like for like thousands of years, like until I've won, you don't have any sex. So
I hope that line happens.
yeah.
Those are all my Adar thoughts.
Hope he dies next week.
Yeah,
And I bet he's not gonna. I have a feeling he's actually not gonna. I thought he was, but I feel like it's gonna end off
Maybe
with
in episode
him.
8. Maybe episode 8.
Yeah, I think the
not next week.
finale. I don't think next week.
Oh no, I have a rumble in my tummy that he's gonna make it out, and it's gonna be like him and Galadriel stuck together somewhere, and they gotta.
No, I think that relationship's ruined at this point. I don't think there's any.
No,
chance
it's like
that
they
she-
have to work together though. Like Sauron has them captured, or like I think it's gonna be that where they again by proxy have to work with one another. I hope not, but just the route they're setting up here, I just feel like he's gonna lose everybody, and then Galadriel will see more that okay, there is a human in there. Oh
man.
god, I don't want any of that. I hope, yeah, I hope
Get rid
just,
of Adar. Get
spear
Celeborn
the
in the
head.
show, and just
Yeah.
and give us some more Galadriel stuff. I didn't really touch upon her for this season, but as you guys were talking about, I completely agree with what you were saying. Where especially Dylan, like I completely agree. I think she is by far the biggest drop off, just because she is so easily like the main pillar going through that first season, and then to where she is now. It really just seems like a scheduling conflict at this point, because I don't know. I think even the writing reasons on why she's not there is it just seems lazy to me, and I think because we're spending time with things that I find a lot less interesting, like the Harfoots, so just maybe some Gandalf stuff. Like I would just so much rather spend screen time, on more her dynamic between Anatar or Sauron or even just other elves. Yeah, maybe
We don't
not
have a
so
lot
much
of great
the other
elves to pick from
yeah.
at this point.
I am happy that there was no Linden stuff. They did mention Linden in this episode, so I was worried we're going to be
Nice to have a
going
break from
straight
the
to
High
fucking
King, for
Gil-galad.
sure.
But yeah, what a fucking stone brick that guy is. But yeah, Galadriel. I'm hoping
Fucking-
that the finale she really has more time to pop off, because I did really like when she was kicking ass in those action scenes earlier on the season.
Stupid High King last week when I can't remember who was asking him, but he had like his little visions, and they had that weird moment where he like grabbed his robe, and they used like very low quality footage. I was like, I don't like this in Lord of the Rings. I wasn't a fan of like the montage, but then he like looks to his companion. He's like, I believe Sauron is the cause of all this, and it's just like, like you can't say it. Like at least say I believe. I believe that Galadriel's been right this whole time, but it's like I believe
evil out there.
Yeah, like he's taking credit for figuring this all. It's like, dude, from episode 1, she's like, I think a lot of bad shit's happening, and I think it's him. And I've already complained about that, but they just did it again last week, where it's just like, I think the Dark Lord is back. It's like, well, no, like, come on now. Like, again, what were we even doing with him there, other than to like, okay, Sauron and Celebrimbor only wrote the fake note, and that plays into it. Great, but it's just like, I don't know, just a weird moment, yeah. But unfortunately, he's not like Adar. He's going to be with us for a bit, so.
What do you guys think of the Bombadil Gandalf 2 scenes that we got in this episode?
Yeah, I said that I was getting more warm to it. I still don't like that he's kind of like on a side, in like he is speaking philosophical and like just speaking in riddles to Gandalf, but it still seems like he's very much like, Sauron's evil, you need to get rid of him. And I really just wanted him to be an absolute neutral character, kind of like how the Ents were trying to be, before they do end up picking a side. But that's just like my personal bias into it. The actual scene itself, I forget the chap's name that's playing Tom Bombadil, but I do really like his performance and everything. Like I think he's really fantastic. Just going back and forth between him and Gandalf in that one sequence. But yeah, like deep down, it's like, I wish he was just completely neutral and was not really guiding Gandalf to a certain point.
I thought that was a part of your problem with him. You didn't like that he was always like, oh, he's just around doing nothing. I thought you hated that.
I don't hate that. That's what makes him Tom Bombadil and just one of one character in this amazing, like just world that is Tolkien's universe. But, because like I don't know, like I think I would have preferred like if it was Sauron, for example, like guiding Gandalf on this journey, like teaching him how to be like a wizard, as opposed to Tom Bombadil kind of doing that. But I don't know, like I still like the scene. I like the dialogue. Like I think there was some good lines said. So, yeah, like if I'm able to just kind of keep my biases at the door and just enjoy the content for what it was, I did really like the scene. I liked when he looks back and he's just completely gone, because like that like adds to the mystery of what Tom Bombadil is, because we never see Gandalf do that or any other wizards, right? So it is something that is unique, more so than just other magic users that we've seen in the past. So I did like that aspect, but for the most part, I still think that he should be written a little bit differently. But I don't know. I'm just stubborn in that sense, I guess.
Plus, you could just say that's 1,000 years later, right? So maybe he changes a little bit over time. He gets less and less with
You
it.
could make that
everything. He
argument.
forgets with it, but yeah, I think this is it for him for the most part. I think he's gonna be. I'm not saying he'll
He's gotta
never
give
come
that
back.
hat away, right? He's got to give Gandalf his hat once he's done his.
Yeah, there's 5 seasons. That's what I'm saying. Like he's not gone forever, but I think he's done this season when he disappeared. I love when he looked there like, "Old Tom Bombadil will show you the way." Like I like that. I wish they made him a little more weird. I was wanting him to be a little more off the wall because he is in the book. So we didn't get him singing either. So yeah, I was a little disappointed by that, but I liked it enough. I do agree with you, Kirkland. It's what we've talked about before, where I don't need the. This is literally just a exposition jump for Gandalf since episode 4, pretty much, of hey, this is your path, this is what you got to do. It's just laying out what's going to happen in Lord of the Rings, and I think that's kind of like I said, I'd rather him just be Gandalf, and then okay, what were his adventures or stuff beforehand, but it's clearly not. It's like even him just using the words destiny, like it is odd, right? Because either way, if it's not the movies, Gandalf does, die, but then gets resent to kind of, balance the scales. So you could make an argument like it is a destiny sort of situation, but how I view Gandalf, it's not like his destiny is to fight and take down Sauron. That's not the way I think of it as when I watch Lord of the Rings. So it is, when you throw the word destiny out, it's a little odd. But before anyone else goes, because I don't want to forget, we talked about Taylor talking about last week's episode. He said, yeah, it was great. The bar is set high right now. LOL. So that's why.
But I said it differently. I didn't say me and Dylan thought it was the greatest episode. LOL.
No, I gotta go back. No, I think you said you and Dylan really like best episode so far of all time for me and Dylan, and that's when I said, yeah, it was great. The bar was set.
Oh,
LOL.
sorry. This was a text to you?
Yes.
I thought you were saying that you listened to the podcast and he said that on last week's review. And that's why I was like, that makes no
LOL,
sense.
guys.
He would never say
LOL.
that.
But still, if he were to say the bar is set, if I had not seen the episode, I'm on the road, I asked him how the episode is, and if he says the bar is set high, LOL, I don't take that as it was a good episode last week. So that's where I was surprised by
That
the
was
reaction.
after
The LOL is
I-
definitely an interesting flavor choice. From
Yeah,
That was
why?
after the statement, though. That when I said greatest episode of all time so far.
But then, but why still add the LOL at all to the bar set high? LOL.
Yeah,
Just being friendly.
Like imagine the first time
He wanted
you,
to make sure you knew it was a lighthearted statement.
I guess. Like imagine the first time you Massa made love and she texted you like, "How was it?" And you're like, "Bar said hi." LOL.
No. So the first message would be like, "That was the greatest thing of all time,"
LOL.
and then
It
after
still
it would
ends
be like,
with LOL though.
No, and the next
Yeah.
message should be like, "Oh yeah, no, the bar is set really high, lol." I'd be like, "Okay, yeah."
I would
after
take it that
the
way.
other comment.
Context
Alright.
is key.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bomb. I guess I don't have as much of a preconception as you two in terms of what this character should be like, or even what I want him to be like, because this is my first experience with him. But I just felt like this sequence, one, it was very different than how he was acting. Maybe not acting, but at least how he was written previously, where I did feel like he was more lighthearted in those previous scenes. And definitely, he still had that mystery factor to him, but he was a little bit more fun, whereas this, he was much more stern. And I just felt like it wasn't that interesting where Gandalf's like, okay, I've been having dreams of Nori. I got to go save her. And then he's pretty much just like, okay, well, you could save her and then everyone else in the world will die ever.
Yeah.
Or you can go and stop that and then everyone lives. So it's like, yeah, well, that's not that really interesting of a dilemma. I mean, you pretty much it's like the easiest trolley problem of all time. Like one person, one for a million, the classic Tomb Raider meme there. So I don't know. It just wasn't that interesting to me. And then he just pieces out there. So I don't know. It was just so little that it was hard for me to feel too against it or for it either way. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if you're right, Travis, and this is the end of Bombadil for like this season or this sequence, I'm curious what this Gandalf like on his own will be up to, because we haven't really seen that much in this show, just like people on their own at any point. It's always in the relation of someone else. So I don't know, maybe he doesn't listen to him. Maybe he does go back for Nori. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Fuck the world. Yeah, I forgot you brought that like I didn't talk about that, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, I wish that was done a little more cautiously, because it did just make it seem like, yeah, you can either be friends with these hobbits or the world ends. Like, no, there's not like a middle ground there, because
Like that's where a riddle, as Kirkland said, would have been perfect. Like something a little more ambiguous, something more to like chew on, but it was just so like plain statement.
Very specific, yeah. But like I said, and I said this in non-spoilers, my hope is that it's pushing him away from the Horrorfoots. That's my hope, is that he does have to, this end of the season, he says goodbye to them, emotional, they hug, which I will say, if they do say goodbye, that'll hurt my final rating for this season, because we did like their chemistry. So if they're going to say goodbye, why don't you have all of season 2, him and the Horrorfoots pound around going adventures, then, well, we got to say goodbye, our journey's over till next time, but to have them together for 3 episodes, separate them, put them back together for the finale, and then him probably say bye again. Oh, what a
yeah, I guess it just feels like, in my opinion, it feels like they are no more than like a 3 hours journey from each other right now on the map. But since the time in this show is so confusing, I don't know. They could be so far away from each other at this point. They could be weeks or months away from each other. I don't know how that would have happened, because they haven't really moved much since they've got to the Stewards and then him with Bombadil. But who knows what happened with his tornado blast thing? Maybe it launched them halfway across Middle Earth.
Yeah. Taylor, you didn't talk about Gandalf at all. You were just sending LOL texts.
I did not talk about Gandalf. Yeah, he in my opinion has the destiny card of needing to be present in Middle Earth to defeat Sauron. I feel like that's how I kind of take that in when I watch Lord of the Rings. Because
so you think it's his destiny to be there? He has to be there?
I think that's his destiny, because I feel like you have the wizards here that are present, and not all of them fulfill their destinies. Like you have Saruman, who completely fails and botches it. So you have a lot of them that are still like lingering around Middle Earth, like Radagast and the Blue Wizards. So they are not like completing what they're sent there to do.
But what's destiny versus like a job? Because it's Saruman's job to help out.
It's just a fancy way to say job.
Yeah,
like your boss is like, it's your destiny to come in on Monday.
I don't like that. If my boss,
and that's why you have Radagast. It's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna go off in the wilderness. Or the Blue Wizards, they're like, no, we're going to the east. We're going fucking touring to Europe.
Don't like that.
So yeah, I think that it's his destiny, and like you try to quit your job by
it's your destiny to be
by
your
dying,
job.
And your boss just pulls the resurrection card on you and sends you back in. So you just he couldn't escape it. But all in all, at this point, I didn't feel like the sense that he was just going to give up on the Harfoots. I feel like something's going to happen. He's probably going to find his staff within 5 minutes, and then he's just going to just fucking charge in there and save the Stewards and the Harfoots and all that. So I think that's what's going to go down. I'm not feeling like they're necessarily going to just go their own path, even though because like we need to have a little bit more time, I feel like, to really cement that relationship as to why Gandalf is just fucking obsessed with hobbits. And I feel like this little journey with them.
Obsessed.
Oh, he's obsessed.
He's friendly with them.
A dragon takes over Erebor. I'm gonna go get myself a fucking hobbit. Oh,
he needed a little one
the
for
One
thieving.
Ring. I'm gonna get 4 fucking hobbits for this one. Like
I mean,
He
there's
only
still
requested
thousands of
one.
years, right, between like this and Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long time to meet other hobbits. And
That's true. It is a long time. So I mean, he gets like a time to form a little list and like roster of names,
And
like
he-
this hobbit, that hobbit.
He only wanted one hobbit. Merry and Pippin tagged along, and Sam was only supposed to be there as like his like bag boy or whatever.
His bag boy.
That's what he is.
Well,
in Fellowship, he's a bag boy.
He
carries his
definitely
shit.
wanted Sam. He smacked Sam in the garden and dragged him in. And is like, I got a better use for you. He's like, yeah, I got two hobbits now. So speak.
You've been
I wasn't dropping no heaves.
I just
Poppy had a
Marauders.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
They gonna be
yeah.
fucking next
I
week.
don't
Like, what do we
need-
gotta deal with? Like, what do we gotta
Oh,
do? All right,
yeah.
I guess the assassins, but
That's like what you were saying earlier today. Like I can't see many of these stories having a satisfying conclusion on this season.
No,
for me.
like-
To me, this episode more than ever, I was like, oh yeah, they confirmed 5 seasons, right? Or like they at least
well,
confirmed the
yeah,
next one. Like, we're
like
going
the Dark
places.
Wizard versus Gandalf is gonna happen, but like I feel like that in itself is at least like a 20-minute situation because you want to have a lot. You want to have them talking. There's gonna be a lot of dialogue. Probably the Dark Wizard turning him over, converting him, and then you're gonna have a fight. Like that's not something you can really squeeze into. Like a 50-minute? I guess they're full hours. They're at least an hour. So an hour-long episode, and we have a full war to go on with Erigion, and then we have, like Gil-galad. Like, are we even gonna see him again? Like, is he just like he's paralyzed in fear with holding his fucking jewels, like his ring? Like, I don't know. There's so many. There's a few characters here that's just there's so much to go on, and at one point where I thought that even the Balrog was gonna pop in, it's not gonna happen this season. They keep
He was in
even
this
again he was in this episode twiddling in the fires, like they just keep toying with it. So
and Sauron saw him because I listened to that review because like, oh, well, Sauron has no idea that he's there, but now he does. So
now he
that's-
does, and he's smiling. He's always
that's not good
smiling.
for them.
I felt
That's
like
why-
I feel like that scene like confirmed that he knew that it was there the whole time, like
Yes.
the presence, and he's wanting them to, delve deep and greedily.
Because to me it was like a quiet threat. It was like he wanted them just to give him the stuff, and then if he didn't get it, well, his plan B was, well, the Balrog's gonna get unleashed and just mess you guys up. But like, unfortunately, he didn't like reveal that to the poor dwarves. They didn't get that end of the deal. Like maybe if they knew, like obviously it's a bad way, but if Sauron said, "Hey, I'm gonna fuck this whole place up if you don't give me this stuff," maybe they'd just be like, "Okay, we'll give you the Mithril," But now he's like, "Oh no, all right." He's
Well, he
he's
got
such
it
like a sore
anyways,
little
right?
loser.
He got it
At the end of the
anyways.
day.
He got the most
Yeah.
purest
He
Mithril.
got
Did
it anyways.
Did
But
he, or is that also a falsehood? Is that just like some
Ooh,
fucking-
yeah,
what I
that's
was
actually more
thinking.
likely.
Like I was
That's
wondering
actually
if
more
he's
likely,
kind of
yeah.
like when like a fake drug dealer like sells oregano to someone and pretends it's
Oh, yeah.
pot. Like I didn't know if that's what he was doing.
That's all I
here,
buy.
or-
The clean.
But it's his product, right? So like why would he make fake? Why would he make
Give him
oregano
oregano.
rings? I feel like he'd want the real thing,
no,
right?
but maybe But if he can't get the real thing, he has to go with what he has, right?
Which is better than the real thing.
No, but it's maybe more tainted, but it still works, right?
Yeah,
It's-
Sauron's not looking for a pure ring here.
Yeah.
Celebrimbor wants a pure ring.
He just wants an
That's
effective
true.
ring that'll do what he wants it to do, right? Like
Yeah.
he does. It's not like he just, oh, I need dud rings for these men. Like he does want them to do what he wants them to do. I'm just also curious if the mithril is as important to that goal. Like does he really need it to get it? I think yes, because he did seem a little bit bummed when Durin didn't accept his offer there. But I'm also curious if that's more so he's just bummed that he wasn't going to keep digging deep and greedily. But
Yeah, that's
they
why,
are
like-
doing that. So like I feel like he's really just playing like 4D chess at this point, and just it seems like every move that is happening, one might argue it's just like, well, of course it's Sauron's plan all along that everything's happening. But I also kind of like if that is the case, even if it is like a bit of a stretch that he has so much influence. I feel like because he is just such a ethereal type being of darkness, of evil, of all these things, like I would believe that is possible, that he does have all that. But like I'm curious if someone that doesn't like, even if they haven't seen Lord of the Rings, if they're just watching this show, like is that an unbelievable thing for just having this Halbrand character? If he is just like I'm curious for an audience member like that, how they feel on just all of the reasons. It's like, oh well, it's Sauron all along. Like when Galadriel's freaking out, it's like it's him. It was him the whole time. Because he is like the answer to all of the issues, right, of everything that's going on right now in this world.
I would love to ask those people because I would get the feeling lots of general audience don't like this Sauron because they're
Yeah.
not familiar with it. Because in the movies, you just see big evil guy in armor that's spooky. So I feel like to have him looking like Halbrand, have him looking like this elf, like I feel like that is probably a big disconnect for people when they've tried in the marketing to like they have him all the time as his Anatar version, right? Like this is Sauron, he's coming. But I don't think general audiences are like, oh my god, yes, that's Sauron. I think they look at him and be like, that's Sauron. Like I don't know if it really connects with that with the people that love just the movies in a sense that I saw them a couple times and I not the way we love them, right, that enjoy them, but the more casual enjoyers of it. So, and I don't know, maybe he was just bummed that the king just even said no to him, right? Maybe he thought like he was just checking in to like see if he still has control over this guy. And I was surprised that King Durin said no, because I thought this ring is still on him and he's been having a little bit of he's hit his son, so not a great father of the year. So I was surprised that he did say no to Sauron, but yeah, that happened.
Well, it makes sense, right? Like what his plan is. He wants Sauron to come back begging, like, I'll pay like 3 times what I was offering before just for some mithril. So he's
Well, it
playing
does,
like
but-
he's a weapons dealer now.
It does, but I just still thought like Sauron with these rings maybe would have had more control over him. More just like make him do kind of whatever he wants, like puppeteering it a little bit. So that's why I was surprised he still has some free will going on. Because last episode he just seemed like a man possessed, and that's where this week he still did to an extent, but he still had like a moment of clarity for himself. So I thought Sauron would have just like, oh, I got these rings on them, we're good to go now. Which is not the case.
I would
think.
say like he definitely like was able to tap into these rings and like cause a little bit of a ruckus, but these rings are different from like the One Ring and like the Rings of Men. Like they're a tier below what the Elven rings are, so like he definitely helped to make them, but as tainted as they are, they're definitely not like a full on like I think in service of Sauron. But
I definitely have some questions with his plan there. Like I didn't think about the Balrog angle like you guys did. That's very smart. I'm one like I am curious about that. Like if that is fake mithril, like that kind of makes sense. But if not, like is that why he went there? Like maybe he figured that would be King Durin's answer, but he wanted to get some anyway. But I don't know where he would have got that from if he like snuck in, because if he did, we didn't see that sequence.
well,
so
he dropped a name, right? What was that dwarf's name? Like the head
Narvi.
miner guy.
Yeah.
What was that, Kirkland?
Narvi.
Narvi.
He said
yeah.
Harvey. I'm like,
That
like
is
all
the
these
scene.
fucking
What
names.
happened? What are you talking about with Narvi?
When he was talking to Celebrimbor, he's like, "Yeah, Narvi gave me like the most purest and powder form of mithril."
Just because he's
So-
like the head miner, like he would be.
Yeah,
like,
so maybe
the
he
guy.
pulled some magic on him and convinced him.
I mean, but wasn't he lying to him for like 5 minutes straight in that sequence?
just visually, but I think
I guess I didn't think twice about him talking about Narvi. Like, if the whole thing was he fabricated this whole fake world for him, so I wasn't like, oh, but that one line, that must be legit. So maybe that is what it is. If that is the case, I feel like it was maybe a bit messy, the portrayal of that. But that's the other thing too, is I feel like it's so important for him to be in Erangion. Like what he's doing with Celebrimbor has to be done with such a perfect balance, because we even saw last week that Celebrimbor was pushing back on some of the things that he was saying, and maybe this is all part of his plan. But I feel like there is an angle to it where he has magic powers, and we did see that this week, and we can talk about that. But for the most part, like he really has to be on top of it. And we've talked about how like, okay, it doesn't seem like Khazad-dûm and Eregion are that far from each other, but still he actually physically traveled there. And it, like, let's say that takes a week or a couple weeks, like that's potentially a long time to be away. And maybe in that time, Celebrimbor could in theory kind of come back to his senses a little bit if he's not being persuaded, not being hit with that dark magic while he's away. And maybe can kind of connect with some of his smiths again or something. So it seems like a risk, but once again, it's my biggest confusion with the show in general, I think, is just the uncertain time jumps that we have. Like, he just goes to Khazad-dûm. We don't really know how long that takes, but it feels like that would be a big commitment, like, especially when there's fucking orcs on the front porch of Eregion that whole time, before he leaves, after he leaves, while he's away. It just seems like such a big risk. And if he went there to get the mithril, it makes sense. But if he didn't, and this is all a fake ruse, and it doesn't seem like it was really worth it, or a big miscalculation, which doesn't seem like he's doing right now. It just seems like he's on top of his game. So I'm left a little confused, but maybe we'll get some of those answers kind of retroactively next week.
I didn't really think about that, like transportation aspect of him getting like. It seems like it's like a blockade of orcs, right, all around Eregion on the logistics of how he would have got there. I don't know. It's yeah.
He's magic though, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
I was
possible.
just chalking up
Maybe
to
into
that.
the
Like,
unseen realm. Who knows?
it's big plot armor, but it's just like I just feel like I know we talk about like what is the power level of Sauron, but I just feel like at any point they just like, oh yeah, well he knew this little charm.
If you got
and
from
he got over
Mordor
it.
to fucking Lindon or Aragon, where the hell he was, from the end of season 1 to season 2, that's much further. That's it's further than Frodo's journey.
It's true. He can zip around, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, just you're talking about Celebrimbor there. I feel like while watching the show it's made me like question myself on like how much I really knew about this character, or if this is like, I don't know, somewhat accurate, if he was always like so obsessed with his craft that he would just completely disregard like his entire kingdom. I did really like the sequence actually when he does he's able to open up his eyes momentarily at least to actually put the safety of his city over, the craft of the rings. It's like, I got to go check this out. And then it's all, Sauron does his mind fuckery powers. And then he has that breath of like, just the relief exhale. That's like, okay, I can actually focus on my craft because my city is safe. Like I did like that moment, but I feel like it's just been super maybe inconsistent of like him being off the rails, basically Jack from fucking The Shining level of like crazy of so obsessed with his craft, like just yelling at his smiths and all that.
Don't you
their
see I'm
names.
working here?
Yeah, like I did.
You're distracting me.
Because I like those moments of just like the actual presence of Sauron, and when he's like, it's super clearly like gaslighting Celebrimbor when he's looking for his like hammer. It's like you looking at that one right there.
right there.
It's like, what
Oh
the fuck
my
is
God.
going on? Like
not
he's just
remembering
totally
people's names and shit like that.
It's like one step away
You
from
forget my name,
Hannibal when he
Michael?
fucking gives Will's encephalitis, whatever the hell it is.
He wanted to. He would
Get
have
those
got
two
that in
mixed
season
up.
4. Fuck. Yeah, don't get those messed up from the doctors. I got a case. Yeah, no, he's just like, his mind's going to be completely gone by the end of the season. Is he making it out of the season? Is he somebody that's around still? Like, I feel like...
I could see him going down in the Siege of Aragon.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like right at the end, like his city's just crumbling and he like realizes of like everything that he has done, and it's just like, what a way to go out, like just knowing all of that.
I
like
feel like once he takes the last hammer swing of that 9th ring, Sauron just slits his throat.
just
I'm good now. Thanks, man.
that could very well be the case. I'm hoping we at least see some emotion of realization from him, just to have the actor kind of pop off and cook in those moments. But because yeah, I don't know.
I hope I get like my trial episode with him next season. It's just Celebrimbor and they're like, so
Fuck
this
Gil
random
Galad
man,
and like
yeah,
the head seat with the judge hammer.
this random man just came in, started making rings with you, and you didn't think that was odd. Like they just grill him, and he's like, I am the dumbest elf ever to live, and yeah.
Speaking of dumb elves, let's jump to another ad break here. And we are back.
It's an
you
ad.
calling our
Aren't elves
advertisers
dumb?
dumb
Yeah. Yeah. Aren't elves dumb? Well, with syphilis, you can make them smarter.
Just like a total targeted ad with everything we were talking about.
Okay, so the big illusion that he pulled on Celebrimbor there. I have questions. Is this an evolution of his power? Has he been able to do this for some amount of time? Is it because of mithril or a ring or something like that? He's able to do this. What? I don't know. What is the context of him being able to do this power?
If I had to, defend it and try and give it an explanation, I would just say that he hasn't really used like power like this really since he's resurrected. So maybe he's just been like, building up the power level, and then now he just really like exerted himself to do this, because it did seem like he had to really concentrate on it more so than he's had to for other things. Maybe turning into Anatar, maybe that took, maybe doing like the light show when he does the Jesus walk down from the clouds, maybe that took some effort. But I feel like this is a lot of power, and I think it's totally within his power to be able to do something like this. So I really liked it, especially that it's not like overused. It's not like he's doing this to everyone. Like he really had to concentrate to feel, because what a
There's a
fucking
whole zoom in on his face, being like, what's he doing here?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably an angle of it as well where it's probably a lot easier to perform on Celebrimbor specifically because his mind is already fucked. Like I don't think
Yeah.
thinking about how he like going up to King Durin and like let's say his goal was I just actually want the mithril and I don't have an ulterior motive even though he always does. I feel like he could have done some mind trickery thing like this, but even though I don't know, maybe maybe he's not a great example because his mind's being affected by the ring, but that's kind of different than I think what's going on with Celebrimbor. But I feel like maybe that was part of it too, where an already feeble mind, maybe he was able to mess
Yeah.
with it even more because of that, because he's in like that heightened sense of believability or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Because he's had his mind on the ropes, for the last few episodes. He
Going in for the kill now.
yeah, like I think it'd be a lot harder for him to do a play like that on someone like Galadriel, or like Elrond for like
I don't know,
someone
this
that's
season,
more.
maybe season 1 Galadriel, but season 2
Yeah.
Galadriel easy.
You can't pull that on Adar. Adar, I know your tricks, Yeah. No, I think like you guys point out, weak mind. I think also just that maybe he doesn't always want to bust out this big magic because if something goes wrong, it pulls up, like the jigs up. So I just feel like it's kind of he tried to talk to him to just sit down and say, oh, I got it covered, I'll take care of it, and he was leaving, so it's kind of like his last resort. Because it would be odd for him just to go in there and like WandaVision like ensnare this whole city, because like eventually people would catch on, right? So I feel like it could be yes because his mind's weak, but just because it was a last resort of okay, I'm gonna have to do this because he's not listening. And like I said, I don't think you do it to everybody because maybe they would put 2 and 2 together. So yeah, and I'm fine with the power per se. So.
Yeah, I think it was really neat to see this kind of presentation of his powers and just this whole on illusion. And I was waiting for the scene too when Celebrimbor goes back in his little tower, and you just get that like transition showcasing what's really going on in the chaos and everything. It's just it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Plus, he made night turn to daytime, which was that takes a lot of time, energy, I imagine, to just change the time of day like that.
Yeah.
But I like that he was playing off of Celebrimbor's weakness and just creating like a peaceful Zen kind of area where elves are painting, children elves are flying kites and all that kind of stuff. But Celebrimbor is just he's a big doofus at this point. He's being played so hard, and I feel like they're gonna undersell. No, the way that they're gonna present his death is, I feel like he's just going to, the veil's gonna fall, and he's gonna hear the siege drums again, and he's just gonna like he'll walk out on the balcony of his tower, or he'll walk out down below after the rings are done, and it's just an orc arrow is just gonna like fucking dome him in the chest. Like, I think it's gonna be a very underwhelming death. I don't think it's gonna be anything.
You think he's gonna die from
Really?
a stray arrow?
No, I don't
I
think
feel
so.
like
I think
it's gonna be
I think if he dies, Sauron's killing him.
that too.
think
I
so,
think it
too.
also could be
an
Sauron.
arrow.
So Taylor's it's either the very underwhelming death or killed by the biggest villain of the series.
Yes,
It's one or the
yeah.
other. No, but
One of the- yeah.
Oh my god.
yeah. We didn't say anything. We don't have anything to talk about with the Harfoots. That one is kissing the other one, and I guess they're in love. Is she just gonna stay there now? I don't know.
I don't care.
Not
Nothing to
thinking
add.
Fair. Just want to mention that. Dumb
Hey,
story.
we're in this episode.
Dumb
Thanks for
story.
mentioning
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, one thing from the dwarves that I thought was like a little silly is that Disa wants to stop them from, digging too deep into the mountains, but like her plan is to stand in a corner that they're going to go mine and then summon bats to scare them off. But it's like, are they not mining in multiple locations at the same time? Are they literally only mining in like one linear line? And if so, it's like, okay, the bats have come through, scared them off. If they come back like 4 minutes later, like, aren't the bats gone at that point? Like, can she just summon more bats? It just felt like it's a cute scene, I guess, but like, I don't really believe that would work at all. Maybe it's just delaying them a little bit, but it seemed a little cheesy for my liking.
I completely agree. I was really waiting for like a nice, eloquent explanation of what their plan was, and then it's just like, more are gonna come back, and we'll be ready. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Are they just gonna like,
Yeah, like
murder?
maybe they have a stone singer at every cave, just with an army of bats behind them. But maybe I don't know.
I thought they were gonna be like, okay, now that they're gone, let's storm the fucking throne room and like dethrone Dur. Like I thought that's what was happening here. I thought this was like a total
Execute 'em.
takeover because
Yeah, this
it
plan
seemed like
is only gonna work for an afternoon.
yeah, like in order to stop it, like they have to fucking take Dern out now. Otherwise, yeah, they're just gonna be overrun by a lot of dwarves. So I'm curious as to what's gonna happen next week. As the great Barbosa would say, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean, how many times can you sing like you're gonna wake up the Balrog even faster? Like I wouldn't be singing down there if you heard in the rumbles, but
Well, she doesn't know what those rumbles are, though, right?
she
So-
doesn't know. That's true. I just wanted to circle back to the Harfoots one quick second. Now, the name drop Merrimack was in this episode, and it made me think of Meriadoc.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, and even then, when you have Poppy and you got Pippin, well, Pippin, is that like a family name, or is Pippin the first name? Because I guess Mary
Peregrine Took. So Took is his last name.
took his
his
last.
family name.
Okay, I was just thinking
Peregrine's
Mary
his
Mac and Meriadoc. Maybe it's like a ancestor or
Meriadoc
something like
Brandyfoot. I think that's his last name.
Brandybook? Brandybook?
Fuck. What is it? Brandyfoot.
Is it
My
Brand-
gosh.
that. Brandy
Can't
Buck.
even-
Brandy feet.
Yeah,
Brandyfoot.
that sounds right. It's one of those. My
Right,
gosh.
right.
I
It is foot
apologize,
because
Mary.
Bilbo says, and brand feet, and then that. Remember that shot? His foot's on the thing.
It's on the thing.
Or is it the other way around now? Now I can't remember.
I think he's a
Mary
brandy
Brandy
buck though.
Buck.
Yeah,
It
there
says
you
Brandy
go.
Buck here.
Light blinded
Oh,
fool
okay.
in the
I was
chat.
right, I
Thank
was
you.
right.
Brandy
Who's the
buck.
feet guy again then?
That's just some more hobbits.
Adar.
They're all there, right? They're all there for his 11th
Proudfoot's,
birthday.
yeah. Proud feet. That's what it is.
They're all just fucking getting hyped. I love it.
I'm going now.
And I shall not come back.
Yeah.
I guess Numenor is what we're left with here.
So what is
Numenor.
going on with this town? So they have a queen, they oust her for this magic. Okay, whatever. A big eagle comes down and caws, and they go, "This means this guy must be the king." So then 2 weeks later, this lady goes back in the water. She gets chucked up by a sea urchin. They go, "Well, she must be the queen."
That's not a sea urchin. Okay.
She gets chucked out, and they're just like, "Well, she must be the queen after all." I'm done here. I'm done. I like what's happening
No,
with.
it wasn't that she was queen again, right? Or did I miss it?
But-
Didn't they
Definitely
just
not
say
queen
she's
again.
we're just not killing her now? Is what they
They're
said.
But-
cheering her as queen of the seas.
That's what
Yeah.
he announced her as, right? And everyone's like, "Yes." So it's just
Yeah,
like
but
She's
it's like
not
a
the queen of
religious thing,
Numenor
though.
again.
no, but it's just like that's the way it's going because like she's been ordained, in my opinion, of like she's not guilty, and just like the crowd's already cheering from her. I do like what's going on with Isildur's dad and his daughter and him being prideful, very Ned Stark. I like that. So I've always liked that character. The rest of the stuff I don't need. I'm not liking any of this. I think it's cheesy. I don't think it's well written. I think a lot of the other than him, I think a lot of the poor acting is in that section. Like the guy that's playing the new king is not doing it for me. So everything there is just, and even then, just this whole like, I guess I guess like trial by this sea creature, like. All right, like I don't know, just I guess it just doesn't feel too Lord of the Ringsy to me for that one. That maybe that's something that's happened in the books that feels more like a Pirates of the Caribbean thing. Like it just didn't. That's not anything we've seen in like the movies. Nothing I call in the book, in the Hobbit. Like okay, well, and even Game of Thrones they do that, right? Well, trial by combat or trial by this. It's just like okay, well, we're gonna throw you in the water, and if you're not guilty, this thing will spit you back out, and if you are, it'll swallow. Like. I don't know. I'm just none of this stuff is working for me on kind of all levels, unfortunately. So, yeah, I don't have much more to add.
Yeah, it's not great. I feel like we're getting like a lot of little micro spats between these characters, but like an overarching sense, like since Arfarzon, that name's really difficult for me, has become the new leader. Like, has he done anything? Like, is there a reason that we as a viewer should believe that he's a bad leader other than he's like acts really sus and like is hanging out with the Palantir? But like in terms of his choices,
Well, he's
as a
killing
leader-
people, right? The people that used to be loyal to the old queen.
They're like
he's been
shutting
killing
down
them.
the religion,
Yeah.
of the city, right?
Okay, but
So he's
I
ruling
don't
with
know
an
anything
iron
about the
fist.
religion of the city. So
Yeah, that's
like
true.
a
Well,
Well, just like the
meaningless-
following of the Valar, like that was like the whole thing with like they thought they were going to be clever by if they want to follow beliefs, because they're just so anti whatever their religion, their belief is, we'll just toss her in the sea and she'll just drown, and that'll be that. We don't have to worry about. Well, I guess they're talking about Elendil at this point. Like we don't have to worry about him because this is going to be the result. And then when Muriel gets shot out of the water, they're like genuinely like shocked that it happened. And I do like that now, like they have a grip on this. They had a grip on the city by just pointing out how basically false the following of like just Muriel's people have of like the Valar, and just how that goes. Now there's starting to be some cracks there, so I feel like they're already just regretting like allowing that to happen. I thought that they were actually gonna like mess with that so that I thought they were trying to bait them into being like, okay, we'll do the trial, and then when she jumps in the water, someone just fucking slices her throat or something. Like I thought it was gonna go that, and then it's like, oh, it's clearly not working.
Tie a
like,
cinder block to her.
yeah, I thought it was actually gonna go that way. They weren't making it that complicated or difficult, but yeah, I do agree with you though, Dylan. I think they could have been doing a lot more of just showing like the complete changing of the guard, because it kind of just seems like Numenor is being ran like the same, because we haven't really seen like what's going on other parts of the kingdom. It's more so just like a changing of the people that are running it, but like we don't really know how it's affecting anyone else other than just that sequence when Isildur's buddy got shanked by Ar-Pharazôn's shitty son. So
Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the issues of why I'm less invested is one, which I think we talked about last week or probably even multiple times this season, is that none of the key power players that we are invested in or care about in this show are there right now. So it's just like a bunch of people that I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Let's spend 5 minutes with Aaryan, and I don't even know what her motives are, and I don't really care. But then the other thing is, like, since it's on its island in the middle of nowhere, and we were talking about this last week, how like Numenor is like this place, but there's other cities like on this island, but there's no interaction between any of those cities, and there's no relation between what's going on here and the rest of goings on in Middle Earth. So it just feels like such a separate thing, and so I guess I just feel like the stakes of it don't really get matter as much. When we can have an episode where we're like the dwarves are in Khazad-dûm and they're doing their own thing, but then you'll have an episode like this where there's their interactions with Eragon and these other characters, and you can kind of draft out the big web of how all these characters and places are interacting. But I feel like Numenor, even last season, it did have more of those connections with other characters coming and going. But this season, it's really just been the people that are here, they're here, and that's kind of it. And that's where I just feel like I don't really care at all. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future there. But I think that is just maybe an issue with it, is like it's not easy to get there. It's harder for them to just have a scene where Sauron's just in Khazad-dûm and we don't really explain it. It's believable enough. But with Numenor, since it's such a trek, I guess they can't really do that as well. We need some more eagles to just be teleporting characters left and right, so we
the
can
wrong place at the
have
wrong
more
time.
interactions, I guess. But yeah, it's not working for me so far.
Cool.
Do you have anything to say? You made her the thumbnail, so I thought you'd have lots to say.
I mean, I thought that what was his name? Alphonse.
Big Fonz.
Big Fonz.
The Fawns.
Yeah, he's using the Palantir now, so we officially got to see that, because we only got teased at it with last week, right? I think that's what they were doing.
Right.
He was in his
Or 2
tower.
episodes ago, I think.
He's
But
in his
No,
tower.
it was last week.
Was it?
You guys were talking about it because he was hiding, and you guys were theorizing, was he using it already or not? And
Oh, right,
they
okay.
confirmed this episode he is, which I wish they waited for like a little longer than just 1 week of just like they ousted her for using this, and then 2 weeks later, well, I'm gonna be using it. Like, I don't know, but he does have it up high, I guess.
Dude,
So.
that visual though, when he
That was
touches
cool.
it and then it just like cracks and expands. Holy fuck, that's some good editing. That looked so sweet. You carry on, sir. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I love a good sea monster, and the sea monster did not disappoint. It was pretty cool to see it.
really? You
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
I like the sea monster. Yeah,
I
I was
liked
not
it, too.
expecting it to have all the tentacles and then like a rhinoceros horn. So I think visually it looked pretty cool. And I kind of like the concept of.
Does a horn make sense for a sea creature?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Of course, there are
What's
like
a horn
narwhals
for,
and
like,
swordfish. So
evolutionary-wise?
Okay.
Wouldn't it be like? Isn't it not like a defense tactic against?
Well, I
Is
just
that
feel like
what
with
it would be
water
for?
and like water resistance, like could you really get a good swing with like a horn.
He used the
with that
arms and
horn?
like pull it on you, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
cracking
okay.
Put your
shells
head
with
down
it.
when something's charging you.
See, that's
drop
I would have liked to see it do something. Maybe that's
Yeah, that's
She
fair.
Next
charges
week.
Next
at it.
episode.
Isildur's dad. That's like
yeah. I want to see Muriel kick it in the head and kill
You-
it.
You need to pick him up and just like cut him in half over his horn. Guilty, guilty, he's guilty.
I think that's got an interesting kind of, I guess, law is what they were calling it. Just this belief where they spend all morning blowing their horns, calling this fucking sea creature to their shores, and then they just put one person in the pool. And as you guys already talked about, just if you're innocent, it'll spit you out, and if you're guilty, it's just gonna kill you. It's a
I like
wild
that our
thing.
Farzan didn't even know that either. He didn't actually know.
A
how
few
it works.
things like, oh, can she contribute herself as tribute here to too? Is that law? And he just has to agree to everything, and he's king. And he's just
He's all for it, man. He's like, all right,
he's
let's
all
do
for
it.
Yeah, and then like the guy who's like his lawyer, he like doesn't want to admit that he knows these rules and that like everything is fair game. He just wants them to be really sus about it and break the rules.
It was his
then
plan too. He
Aodian
like
calls
brought
him.
this up, right, to
Yeah.
our Farzan. He's like, if they want to do it, well, we got this rule. And he's like, okay,
He's
let's
always
do
got his little
that.
fucking scroll with him with all the laws written down. So cheesy.
Yeah. I think overall the stuff that's going on with Numenor, it, I definitely agree with the sentiment that like all the moving pieces that are going on so far this season in particular, but just for the show overall, I feel like we're just spending too much time we're not spending enough time in like one particular area to really explore like to full depth of what's going on there. So like when we have little glimpses of the Harfoots, the fucking Khazad-dûm stuff, we got Linden, we got Gil-galad over there, we got Eregion, we got Numenor. It just spreads so thin, like too much butter, like our great background says. Not enough butter over too much bread. I think Numenor, because of just how like you could have a whole show, not even just a season, but like a whole show on the actual like downfall of Numenor. Like I like it could be like a Game of Thrones level of
The
exploration
show's not
there.
selling me on that series. If they announce that, I think
Definitely
I would.
not, because we're spending time in so many different areas. Like we don't have time to feel the effects of Ar-Pharazôn taking over Numenor and like just the shutting down of like not just like the diminishing of the belief in the Valar, but like actually making it outlawed that like you cannot do like that's juice there. Like that's like total takeover of people's beliefs in the kingdom and just how they actually live their lives and like the foundation of Numenor. Like there's so much juice that we're just not able to access because we are just trying to be a jack of all trades as opposed to really focusing on telling like these really interesting tales of a place like Numenor, of just it's like an Atlantis type place, like especially when just like what happens to it, like it's a very similar sort of idea there. So I think even after 5 seasons, like looking back on it, I definitely am going to be thinking that it was lost potential on other aspects of the show for sure, but specifically Numenor, because it's just we just don't have enough time. Like how much screen time overall have we been in Numenor in this season? I am kind of curious about that overall, because at the start of this season, it was Muriel's Numenor, and now it's someone like it's just it's Ar-Pharazôn. So I don't know. I just feel like we don't have enough time with it, but that's my overall thought on it. I am liking some of the stuff that is going on there. I think I was a lot more positive on this week's episode in particular because it was just more of the actual tackling the beliefs system of it and like just the importance of the Valar and the judgment. Like I like all of the tradition that's going into it in that regard. I like seeing the Palantir again. So I do like that stuff, but it's still like I'm here thinking that we could have had this done so much better and had these moments just feel so much more meaningful and like have stakes to it. But unfortunately, it's not quite the case.
Love it. I agree.
I love a good Kirkland deep dive in the lore stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it
I'm
for me, though.
noteless at
Yeah,
this point.
no more
Noteless
notes.
too.
Nothing here, Gandalf.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
Stranger,
well,
actually.
that's it. That's yeah. We'll be back next week. as Travis would say, the penultimate episode of Rings of Power Season 2.
yeah.
So be sure to check it out. It's going to be a good time. And yeah, we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.